All right, we're here at Mockingbird Lane with our special guest.
Caitlin Cortinas.
She is an artist from San Antonio, Texas. What inspired you to become a comic artist in the first place? How did your journey begin?
When I was in school, I didn't like it very much, and sort of my escape was the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Sunday Funny Comics, Captain Underpants, that type of stuff, and then of course the cartoons that came on the TV. And I was like, I want to be someone who creates that escape for anyone who's like, I can't do this, or like who's working all day 9 to 5. That I want to be that escape. So, um, drawing comics was my outlet to tell my stories and make entertaining stuff, funny stuff. That's why.
It's funny that you bring up Diary of a Wimpy Kid because that was a huge inspiration to me as well. I was just joking around with somebody that like every year we had to do like the summer independent reading thing, and every year I turned in the same essay based off Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
That's awesome. You're not alone. I know everyone did that, but I mean, I hated it when people say it's not a real book. Or it's because it told a story, and I think that's what's important. It had characters, and people engaged with it for a reason. And I think if people engage with it that much, there must be something special about whatever that thing is.
Right, and its lasting legacy tells a story on its own, and clearly a lot of people resonated with it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For someone who's new to your work, how would you describe the comics of Alastor and Lilith?
If you were a fan of dark cartoons, like you like to be challenged as a child and you liked being scared kind of, I think this is a good comic. Any Sunday Funnies fans as well, I think you would enjoy it. Just something you want to like when you get home from work, you want to cuddle on the couch, just get a snack, and it's just a good thing to read. I feel like that's how I describe my comics. That's the vibe. The synopsis is obviously different. But
Your art has a very distinct style. How did you develop it over time?
I just drew. I don't really know how my style developed. I like to describe it as I just never grew up, because to me it sort of reminds me as like a kid's sort of art style, and it used to frustrate me because I was like, I'm practicing, and why is my art not looking more mature, I guess. But I didn't realize this is just my style, especially because I want to draw cartoons. But that sort of scrappy kind of kiddish style. That was just me.
When you're designing a character, what comes first, the look, the personality, or the story?
The personality, to me, characters are more important than the story, because especially in cartoons, you don't really pay attention to the story. The story is still important to me, but in cartoons, it's more about like, I can relate to this character. This character is making me laugh. So how they look, how they present themselves, and I want you to know everything about them as soon as you look at them. That's what's most important.
What's your favorite piece or panel you've created so far with your comic book, and why does it stand out to you?
So it's actually the one I'm working on right now. So I do strips, but they're really like chapters because they're 12 pages, and I want to compile them into volumes. So far, I only have one volume, but this most recent strip I'm working on, it's been taking me a year. It's about 30 pages, and it stands out to me because I usually like to do black and white, but I decided to do color for this one, and it's just a new challenge for me. And it's such a big comic, you would think it's important to the story, but it's funny because it's literally one of my characters just singing the opera song Largo al Factotum, the Figaro song.
Which is a very iconic song.
Yes.
Tom and Jerry did it. Looney Tunes have done it.
That's why I did it, because when I watch those cartoons, I'm like, they're taking something that kids would consider boring, like opera, and they're making it so fun and engaging. And I was like, I could take those lyrics, and with each lyric, he's making the most outrageous, funny face. It's so fun to draw. It's my favorite so far.
That's like one of my favorite things about your artwork. It's so expressive, and it's like it's like detailed in a cartoony way. You could see all the emotions that the characters are trying to portray within the art style. Is that something very important to you when coming up with it?
Absolutely. One Piece is one of my favorite pieces of media ever, and I got into it when I was 12 years old. And
some One Piece voice actors here today.
Oh yeah, that's so exciting! I gotta check it out. I wish I brought stuff to sign, but anyways, when I was reading One Piece, a big thing that stood out to me was their facial expressions, and they were very over the top, and I don't know why I love that, and it made me want to read more. And I'm like, that sticks out to a child, so I want to be like, I want to make faces more outrageous than the last.
and I was telling you this earlier, but a lot of this stuff reminds me of like the old school, like Mass Comics or like Mad TV, kind of that kind of stuff. It's just kind of wacky and fun. I can see something like you doing like an adaptation of like something like Malcolm in the Middle or something, because that was a live action one, but it was very cartoonish in a way.
It's something I've wanted to do as well. I've always wanted to take live action stuff, especially musicals. I'm a big theater person as well.
Me too.
And I want to animate them or like make them into a comic or just see what these live action stuff would look like as a cartoon. It's funny, Disney turns their animations into like live actions. I want to take live actions and turn them into cartoons, but there's just not a lot of time for that. And I really want to focus on my own ideas first. But if I could ever have the time to do stuff like that in the future, I would love to do that.
Now, we talked a little bit about this before off camera, but on camera, let's go over this. Do you prefer working digitally or traditionally, and what tools do you like to use to make that happen?
I definitely prefer traditionally, very traditional, hand-drawn, pen and paper. I've done digital before, but not a lot, and I don't know if it was something that if I dabbed into a bit more, I would pick it up. But to me, there's something so personal about writing with the pen and paper and it being hand drawn. I need that connection, and it makes it feel, especially with AI and everything. I feel like you can connect. First of all, people can connect with CGI that's made by a human. People know human work, but I feel like it's even more so when it's hand drawn by the hand. That's why I kind of lean more towards traditional.
What's the most challenging part of being a comic book artist that fans might not realize?
Just how long it takes, and especially if you're very passionate about it, you want it to look good, you want it to come out right. Like I said, this last strip I've been working on, it's taken me a year, which it shouldn't have, but this was a big year for me this past year. I
can't rush perfection.
No, I just got out of college. I just got 2 new jobs, and I want it to look good, and it did take a year, but I don't want people to have to wait a whole year for like the chapter essentially. So that's the most difficult part, especially when you're doing it on your own. You don't have a team. But yeah, that's probably the challenge.
How do you stay inspired, especially when working on long projects and deadlines?
I thought of like quitting a few times, and I wrote a letter before I started the series to myself, and I put it on my socials. That way everybody knows I made a promise. Like, I'm not going to quit on the series, even if it takes me 20 years, which it shouldn't. But if it does, I'm willing to commit to it. I made that promise, and I've still wanted to quit before. And even when like I went on like hiatus or put my comics away, I always come back to it because I just love it that much. So really, it doesn't take a lot of work to stay inspired because of how much I love it.
All right, 2 more questions, and I'll let you go.
Okay.
What is your nerdiest hot take?
Nerdiest. I don't have a lot of hot takes. What's the opposite of a contrarian? Like, I like to hey, I like that too. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. One Piece is the greatest piece of media of all time. It's better than any anime. It's better than any story. I guess that is a hot take because some people are like Lord of the Rings or like
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, no. To me, One Piece is at the top, and I don't think it's just because of nostalgia. I could name a ton of things, and I'm so glad it's getting more attention globally. Like along with the live action, and I'm a teacher right now.
And Iota doing the actual One Piece putting in the ocean, that got a lot of attention. That was on national news.
I was so I really want to go out and look for it, form a crew, but I'm like, I know like Luffy would want me to like go for my dreams, and my dreams are my comics, so I can't go out to see it. But
you saying something about being a teacher?
Yeah, that's my day job because the comics can only do so much for now. But I do love teaching, and it's so fun to see students because I do elementary as well. These young kids, they adore One Piece, and when I was in school, no one would ever talk about One Piece, and that sucked. They felt lonely, but yeah, I see kids talk about it all the time.
All right, final question. What advice would you give to an aspiring comic artist that are trying to break into the industry?
Don't give up because you're just there's so many times I thought again to give up, and I was like, if I decided to do that, I would have never came as far as I did, because even if I'm not exactly where I want to be, I would never have dreamed that I'd be here as a kid. I never dreamed I'd be at a convention with a banner, with posters, with a self-published book. I never dreamed of that as a kid, and the fact that I'm doing it is crazy. So those little moments are what you work for, those little goals, and then maybe ultimately in a few years you'll get to your ultimate goals. And just don't give up, because there's going to be progression little by little.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoy the rest of your convention experience, and we hope you sell a lot of books. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Shout out where people can find you for social media wise.
Yeah, I'm on almost everything. I think I'm Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I do have a website, Alastor and Lilith Comics.com, and then all the social media handles are Alastor and Lilith Comics. Not to be confused or associated with Hasman Hotel, which is a great show. I do love it, but we take the biblical names for Alastor and Lilith. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on.